out there. They're wondering what is going on. And now the likes of Professor Emmanuel Oshodeke is not backing down. He's saying, as a matter of fact, that they will not call off the strike if all their demands are not critically met. And now there are some salient issues here. He talked about the state universities. It was actually on a sister station like ours. And now when he was being asked that some of the state universities would want to go back to classroom, or some of them have actually started lectures, and he was citing examples that the likes of Kaduna State University, a number of them, he mentioned some of the state universities here, that most of them are quacks. And now that became a major issue. And he's saying, if you want to talk about university, you mentioned Maiduguri, you mentioned Lagos State University, or talking about University of Lagos, and not even LASO. He's talking about University of Lagos, and many of the federal universities, that those are the ones you should imply, not the state universities. And this actually caused some sort of uproar, even among some of the state universities, including Castle, talking about Kaduna State University. And of course, they actually issued a statement disassociating themselves with what Professor Shodeke came up with. But let's listen to what Professor Shodeke said on this particular issue shortly before introducing our guest this morning.
Please, when you are providing data, look at the background. Kwara State University is not a member of ASUU. They have not joined. You can check. Osun State University was suspended from ASUU for misbehavior. You can check. In LASU, you mentioned, we are in court with LASU because they sacked all our executive more than 5 years ago. So they were not part of this struggle. Ekiti State University, the government have a right to, ASUU don't run a university. The government have a right to say we have reopened. Our member have a right to say, that's good for you, we are not teaching. We're on strike. As it happened in Gombe State University, as it happened in Yobe State University, you can go and check. As it happened in Kwara State, in Kaduna State University. So don't cite those examples. They are irrelevant. Talk about the issue. Is Ibadan on strike? Is UNN on strike? Is ABU on strike? Is BUK on strike? Is Maiduguri on strike? Is Lagos on strike? Let's talk about the important university, not those quacks.
We have Mr. Sumba Badijoko now joining us on the platform to look at all of this development. You heard the last statement of the ASUU chairman there. What do we make out of it? As somebody even within the academic world.
There's nothing but a display of arrogance on his own part. Because if a professor can refer to institution that has fellow professors like himself, some of them had even become professors before he came up to that level, quacks, then there's something wrong. He has this ego within him, and it's more of a display of arrogance. That's just the summary of the whole thing.
Now, if you look at what he said, he talked about certain universities. Of course, he mentioned UI, I mentioned Maiduguri, I mentioned University of Lagos, that those are the universities that you can say they are universities. Now, he talked about this as an insider, telling us how much more some of these universities are quacks. Now, wouldn't we take his word for it and not take it with a pinch of salt, given the fact that he's a professor and, of course, he understands better than any of individuals who are outside the academic world. Now, is it not pointing to the fact that there is a failing structure within our academic system in Nigeria, if you could boldly say this on a national TV?
He doesn't know what he's saying.
You think so?
I know so. Because he lectures at Michael Okpara University. And if he's saying that school is better than...
And he's a soil scientist.
I'm not even interested in his discipline.
Oh,
We're
really?
talking about the school now. The entire school structure and system.
But shouldn't that play a
If he lectures at Michael Okpara and he's telling me Michael Okpara is better off than Olabisi Onabanjo or Lagos State University or even Ekiti State University, then he doesn't know what he's saying. Or even Alautech here. In rating, has that school ever been rated above these ones that I mentioned? So these are things that or he wants to say that those that are doing the rating they don't know what they are doing. He's just displaying arrogance. Probably he knew that the strike has lingered too long, and they are looking for a face-saving approach at which to end the strike because it's no longer popular. these people are not supposed to join the strike initially.
Why is
State
that so?
universities.
I didn't know part of
Because
ASUU.
whatever the ASUU gets from the federal government, not a dime will get to the state universities.
How are we sure about that? They are also
Because they are
members.
not, the federal government is not responsible to them. The president is a visitor to all the federal universities. The federal government appoints or governing councils of the federal universities. It is not the same in the states. The governors are the visitors of their respective state universities. And they are the one that constitute the governing council of those universities. They are the one that appoints the vice chancellor. So how do you expect the federal government to now be funding the state universities? Yes, these state university lecturers, in solidarity with ASUU, joined the strike, and yet you are now saying all manner of rubbish about. That means you are telling them you don't care about them. See the way he was saying that Osun State University was suspended from ASUU because of they said they didn't go along with their will. That means ASUU is becoming too egoistic in their approach, and I expect by now all state universities ought to have pulled out, because if the body they are supporting is seeing their institutions in that manner, then they have no business joining the strike.
Is that not an admittance for them not talking? Apart from Kaduna State University that issued a statement disowning that particular comment about Shodeke, many of the state universities are not saying anything. Is that not an admittance that there's something wrong with the structures of even the state universities?
It is not the lecturers that will talk. It is the authorities of the universities.
But why are they not talking?
They may not really want to reckon with him. They may see him as someone who doesn't know what he's saying. And that's the way I also see him too. For instance, I know Lasso would always mind his own business. But I still blame some state universities who they are the ones responsible for this. For instance, Lautech here in Oyo State. Lautech, for crying out loud, has no business joining that strike, because they had their own individual problem for over 18 months. ASUU was there. There was nothing ASUU did about the individual problem of Lautech. Now, somehow the governor was able to solve the problem, and they resumed back to only for them to join ASUU strike, which they will benefit nothing from. Is that not? So if you look at it from that way, you could say that the ASUU president is right.
Now, would we say ASUU is actually taking more than it can chew or bite here, as a matter of fact? Because I could still remember that the UI actually issued a calendar for another semester that is supposed to start in October this year, especially for those at the distance learning. And now quickly we had the ASUU management and UI coming out to say parents should be warned, students should not get back to classroom, that ASUU is still on strike. Now, would we now say that even the school management silently, some of them are getting tired, even the fact that they're also federal institutions, they are getting tired of what ASUU is asking for? Because ASUU is saying it's fighting in the interest of the institution and the students. And now some of them are still going ahead to issue out calendar to say, we want to start our semester exam.
UTAS at all costs. The federal government will not accept UTAS and abandon IPPIS. They will rather modify IPPIS to cater for their peculiarities. They won't take UTAS as a whole. Because even if any of the ASUU comrade is the president, he will also not accept it. It is not in the law that the employees would dictate to the employers the term of payment. He's the owner of the business. He's the one that is recruiting. It is his own terms. You may agree on some principles based on the laws of the land and international labor laws. But that is what ASUU is saying. I know, we don't want IPs. I want UTAS. You must use UTAS at all costs. It was when the issue of UTAS was becoming, was not going to work. That was when they now resurrected the 2009 agreement again, of which some of them has been met, some had already been settled, and some are going to be settled. You understand? But they make the whole thing as if, well, you either do it now or forget about it. At the end of the day, look at the last government proposal, still borders on their remuneration. And that's not the only thing in the agreement.
So is this a personal thing for ASUU? Is it about your interest? Because even what the state universities are saying, they said they are fighting a personal cause. Now, it's all about them. That's what the state universities are even looking at. And they are saying, we're going to
They have sent their children abroad. Their children are not really affected in the real sense of it. That's the truth. They can come out to come and say all manner of things, but the truth is what we know. We are familiar with some of these people too. We know where their children are. So that's the thing. And it's not that the government are really abandoned. I look at federal universities and the way and manner some of the management of these schools behave. Go to UI, move around UI. How many TET fund projects will you find in the UI? And TET fund was set aside for a purpose. And the purpose at which TET fund was set aside for is one of the reasons why ASUU is complaining that the schools are abandoned, but there are provisions. But move into the polytechnic, a neighboring institution, you find TET fund projects littered all over the places. What is happening? Why are universities not assessing this fund and state institution and polytechnic are assessing it? Meanwhile, it's meant for everybody. It means there's something wrong at the managerial management level of the universities.
Now, the argument that has been there is that the TET fund has been taken advantage of. That when that monies were meant for just the academic institutions, other institutions of government started picking interest because of the volume of money inside a particular fund, which is meant for just education. And of course, they started dipping their hands into it. And as a result of that, the educational sector, that's the argument out there.
That's
and
lie.
Why they
That's
have
a
been
lie.
coming up to say that it's not enough.
Reason why some of them, why are you, for instance, the immediate past vice chancellor of UI flagged up a solar farm around Ajibode area. During the groundbreaking ceremony, about 3 ministers of the federal government came down there. I tell you, that project is moribund. It's now a football field by boys in the neighborhood. I'm sure money would have been spent for that flagging off. Money would have probably been earmarked for the commencement. We are not even sure if it has been done on paper. These are some of the problems that federal universities are having. The management are also culpable when it comes to maintenance of the facilities of the universities, because the federal government cannot be looking at everything at the same time. And of course, you know, that's corrupt tendencies of an average Nigerian public officers. So these are problems that the universities are having. And ASUU is aware, because some of them end up becoming vice chancellors too. So they cannot now be saying all that. That's why some of us are saying, "Can't up your mouth." It's about your remuneration at the end of the day. Look at why did they reject the 35% increment the federal government is proposing. That means it's not enough for them. And I was in another class, I said, come, any professor that wants to collect the salary of a senator should resign and contest for that office. Because every Nigerian has the right to it. But to say you want to maintain your profession and no, you can't do that. You can't.
So they are not entitled to that? Because
No,
they are saying that
can't.
they should cut down their salaries.
I'm not saying they should cut down their salaries.
That's what the ASUU lecturers are saying.
No.
They should cut down their salaries.
Of course, everybody is saying that because we look at our revenue, it cannot cater for those kind of things anymore. We've all been shouting. Will not give them a dime for the months they've been on strike. That's another reason why they have refused to resume, because they wanted to collect that money and still that they are still going to do the job. But they didn't do it at the right time. You've wasted the time of who will compensate for the students. COVID only prolonged that particular strike. They were already on strike before COVID came. So, if you had everything together, that means they've added like 2 years to the 4-year duration of that particular child. And yet, when he graduates, eventually, he is already limited as seeking some particular job. They'll say not be more than the average.
Anyone graduate student, they are paying the school fees of 115,000 at the minimum. Every student. And yet, the state government or the university has any coaching in that school apart from TET form. I don't know why they should go on strike with federal universities. I don't know at all, because we are paying more than 100,000 students in the university. That is only student. There are some courses that you pay more than that, like medicine and something. It's far higher than that. And the state government doesn't have a single project in that school that was paid for. And still they are strike. I've been asking why we should follow federal universities on strike.
All right, thank you. Okay.
I want to appreciate him. The way he gives one is very clear, it's well understood, and I like it.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much for that acknowledgement. All right, he's talking about Benue State University and, of course, some of the TEP fund projects going on there, and he doesn't know why they have to actually join that particular strike.
It's in solidarity. State university lecturers joined ASUU strike on solidarity ground. Not that they have anything to benefit from the strike directly.
At the expense of the students.
That is what we are saying here. And that's why and yet they have autonomy, at least to some extent. If it's just because of abuse, that's why some of these things are being checked by the government. But they determine so many things by themselves. And that's why I've said, well, in the long run, the federal government should be looking at the direction of just answering of this school. Give them full autonomy in terms of recruitment and remuneration of personnel.
Won't the burden be on parents and even the students if they've been given full autonomy?
In compensation for that, federal government can now set up scholarship scheme for indigent parents. That's the system in the US. Scholarship scheme, state will emulate, and if some local government could afford, they will also do them. Some foundations will spring up for the same purpose. And but we have a system that is structured in a way that if you don't have the university degree, no life for you. Because polytechnic graduates are even being discriminated against.
They are going back to the university.
You understand what I'm saying? So that is the aberration that is out there. University education is not meant for everybody. It's meant for only the few that will appreciate it, and there are directions at which they are going. But we have a system where we place too much emphasis on paper qualification, and the artisans have no place at all. So they also go after paper qualification. That's why you find someone have studied agriculture, right, engineering. Get involved in all manner of examination malpractice to get into the admission into the university, and they get there, just maneuver their way out, and they become graduates that are unemployable. because not that the facilities are not there, but because they are
Do
just
we
not
have the
qualified.
facilities? But ASUU is saying that the facilities are not even there.
It's over. Giving back. There are so many individuals like that that also do, helping to upgrade the facility. Go to UCH. There are so many buildings that are donated, not erected by the federal government or the UCH management. You understand? So there are ways that the university system can be upgraded. But the way and manner we go about these things, just expecting government, management can think outside the box. You understand? They can do that. There are always these are schools that have produced
and quacks. And now, is he telling us that they are producing quacks? That is why they are going on this strike and all these things. You see, we have this problem. Most of our students now cannot even read and write because they have been staying at home. Some of them are not even having any university. If you don't have a university certificate, federal government, the people that benefited from universities in the early 70s, 80s, got a very good standard education. They are now heading us, and now they are taking their children overseas and private universities, standard ones. Forget about it. What are you searching for? People don't really understand. That's the painful things. What people are taking, it pains me. Go to universities, you see a student 150 in a class. The facilities are not there. Those are part of things they are fighting for. They are fighting for the masses. And the way federal government are looking at it, I don't want to turn the country, the university to be. I'm telling you, if I so allow them, I'm telling you, my wife will need me, we need this, we need that. I'll tell her this what I can afford, this what I can afford, this what I have. I don't need to much one. Manage it. The next time, gradually we'll fix it up. Now when people are talking, the government, when did you see the university on site for good 7 months? And you are not seeing anything when you talk, they say I'm opposition. I don't care, I don't this is not my business. What concern is people go to we that work out and see what is happening. Well, the truth, say the truth. Let's say the right thing. The federal government failed in this aspect seriously, and they are affecting us. And let me tell you one secret, what I'm scared of. By the time we continue to have that illiterate in this country, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for your contributions there. Okay, before we had those calls, we're actually looking at virtual learning, which could have been another measure where students could actually plow into and, of course, learn while this lingered. Why is it that it's very difficult, even as big universities, the federal universities, are not having all of those platforms?
It's not difficult. It's just that they are not interested in that. For instance, COVID day, that will not be done. So that's what is militating against that. They do open university, for instance. You do virtual something, then they give you study pack. You go study, just come back to write exam. And most of some exams in the distant learning are CBT, which will be done by through computer and be marking automatically. So those are things that so they can do. The capacity is there. It's just the willingness. Not that there's any serious limitation against such move. It's just that we have a peculiar problem. And what the last caller was saying, yes, it's right. But to address that, ASUU strike will not bring that to an end. Because it's not just a problem limited to the university system alone. It's a societal problem. And it goes back to the government at all levels. For instance, I said earlier that university education is not meant for everybody. But because we have placed too much emphasis, backed up by what the man from Niger said, on the university degree, we are having challenges.
All right, let's pick this one, Mr. Sumbo. Hello, good morning, please. All right, I guess there is a little problem with that line, but our time is fast spent. Because you talked about the emphasis placed on certificates from the university.
Yeah.
or possibly the educational system, or the companies who are employing out there that doesn't know the difference between a graduate from a polytechnic and, of course, talking about a university graduate here.
No, it's more of a combination of the educational structure and the society itself, which the government has put in place. Now, there are things that could be done. For instance, we have after the first 3 years in secondary school, the graduate of a junior school are